In a small town surrounded by hills, 5 friends decided to take a road trip. They packed their bags and filled up the car with gas, ready for a fun adventure. Tom drove, Sarah sat in the front seat, while Alex, Emily, and Chris squeezed into the back. The sun was high in the sky as they set off, chatting and laughing as they drove along the winding roads. But as evening approached, they found themselves on a lonely stretch of road with no signs of civilization in sight. Tom checked his phone for directions, but there was no signal. Panic started to set in as they realized they were lost. They kept driving, hoping to find their way back to familiar territory, but the road seemed to go on forever, surrounded by darkness and silence. Suddenly, they saw something up ahead, a figure standing by the side of the road. As they got closer, they realized it was a ghost, its pale form glowing in the dim light. Fear gripped their hearts as they tried to drive past it, but the ghost seemed to follow them, appearing again and again no matter how far they drove. They tried to turn around, to find another way out, but the road twisted and turned, leading them in circles. Exhausted and terrified, they huddled together in the car, trying to make sense of what was happening. Hours passed, but the ghost continued to haunt them, its presence growing stronger with each passing moment. They were trapped in an endless loop, with no way out and no end in sight. As night fell, their fear turned to desperation. They screamed for help, but there was no one around to hear them. They were alone, at the mercy of the ghost that followed them wherever they went. They tried to stay awake, afraid of what would happen if they closed their eyes, but exhaustion soon overcame them. One by one, they fell asleep, their dreams filled with the ghost's haunting gaze. When they woke up, they were still on the road, still trapped in the endless loop. The ghost was still there, watching them with empty eyes. They realized then that there was no escape, no way to break free from the nightmare that had become their reality. And so they drove on, their minds filled with terror and despair, haunted by the ghost that followed them wherever they went. They were lost, trapped in a never-ending nightmare from which there was no escape. As the night wore on, the friends grew weary and disheartened. They could feel the ghost's malevolent presence closing in around them, suffocating them with fear and despair. No matter how fast they drove or how hard they tried to escape, the ghost was always there, waiting for them at every turn. With each passing moment, the tension in the car grew thicker, choking the air and filling their lungs with dread. They knew that they were running out of time, that soon the ghost would make its move. And then, without warning, it happened. The ghost lunged at them, its cold, ethereal hands reaching out to grab them. Sarah screamed as the ghost's icy fingers closed around her throat, cutting off her cries for help. Tom tried to swerve the car to shake off their spectral assailant, but it was no use. The ghost was relentless, its grip tightening with every passing second. In a desperate bid for survival, Alex grabbed a nearby flashlight and aimed it at the ghost. For a moment, it seemed to recoil, its form flickering in the dim light. Seizing the opportunity, Chris reached into the back seat and grabbed a crucifix that Emily had brought along as a joke. With trembling hands, he held it out towards the ghost, chanting prayers in a voice that shook with fear. To their amazement, the ghost recoiled at the sight of the crucifix, its form wailing in agony as if burned by unseen flames. With one final, desperate cry, it vanished into the night, leaving behind only a faint echo of its haunting laughter. As the first rays of dawn broke through the darkness, the friends realized that they were safe, at least for now. They had faced their worst fears and emerged victorious, stronger and braver than they had ever been before. With hearts full of gratitude and relief, they continued on their journey, leaving behind the haunted road and the ghosts that had tormented them. And though they knew that their ordeal was far from over, they also knew that they would face whatever came their way together, united in friendship and bound by the bonds of love and courage that had seen them through the darkest of nights.